problems to even a weak Defense Force soldier to an absolute monster that almost destroyed the entire world. These are all 8 forms of Kaiju No. 9. You see, in order to understand the process in which Kaiju No. 9 developed, we need to briefly explain how this kaiju operated and the way it thought. Even though it seemed to be a cold and calm individual, paying much attention to what happens around it, it is actually ruthless and driven to finish its missions no matter what, and doesn't hesitate to kill enemies who engage it, though it is also willing to spare innocent bystanders if that meant avoiding drawing unwanted attention onto itself. While calculating and aloof, it can still demonstrate pure anger and annoyance whenever it is defeated, or if its plans are constantly thwarted. Kaiju No. 9's main personality trait is its determination in destroying the Defense Force and retrieving a great kaiju power. Its resolve, along with its scheming nature, brings it to formulate articulate and complex plans to crush the Defense Force. The focus on its plans is so strong that No. 9 appears as a completely apathetic and distant creature, showing no affection or even attention to the kaiju he spawned to eliminate the Defense Force officers. In spite of its usual analytical, collected, and rational demeanor, Kaiju No. 9 is not above being vengeful and holding a grudge against those who have defeated it or ruined its plans, like Kaiju No. 8. Surprisingly, despite wanting to create a world ruled by kaiju, No. 9 has stated that deep down it has always admired humans and their tenacity. It has always wanted to understand humanity and its potential further by learning more about their society. This point is further exemplified in No. 9's conversation with Kafka after its defeat in Chapter 113. Its overall abilities were quite special, and also the main reason this kaiju developed the way that it did, and also why it showcased this many different versions and transformations. Kaiju No. 9 was one of the strongest kaiju seen so far in the series, having a fortitude level of 8.5 when it first appeared. It was able to stall and almost kill 2 talented Defense Force members and couldn't resist Kaiju No. 8's heavy attacks before fleeing from the scene without being spotted. According to Isao Shinomiya, No. 9 operates like a virus and is noted to be a major threat to the Defense Force by Keiji Itami. Kaiju No. 9 can fuse its body with that of a new kaiju to enter a new powerful form. This power allows it to fuse both with simple Yoju monsters like what we'll see in a bit with the ant types, and even powerful Dai Kaiju like Kaiju No. 2, even if the latter was turned into a weapon. It was soon revealed that Kaiju No. 9 is an amalgamation of numerous kaiju and humans that were consumed and fused, having full access to their abilities. Having covered this, let's now get to the exciting part of the video and the different forms Kaiju No. 9 displayed. Starting off with his human disguise. You see, Kaiju No. 9's human disguise form worked by reshaping his body to perfectly match a real person. Unlike what most people think, Kaiju No. 9 primarily absorbs and assimilates other beings, rather than simply taking over or replicating their bodies. It can consume both kaiju and humans, gaining their abilities and mimicking their appearances. In this case, he copied Takamichi Hotoka, a worker at Monster Sweeper Inc. He didn't just look similar, he matched Hotoka's height, build, voice, and even small habits closely enough that people who saw him every day didn't suspect a thing. This disguise also suppressed his kaiju energy output, letting him pass through normal Defense Force monitoring without triggering alerts. While in disguise, No. 9 still had access to his kaiju abilities. He could fire his finger projectile attacks, regenerate wounds, and even use his power to reanimate dead kaiju into controlled bodies. The difference was that he could do all of this without revealing his true form until the moment he chose to. This made him even more dangerous, since humans believed they were in a safe zone, when in reality, they were next to one of the most dangerous kaiju in all of history. At first, he used this form mainly to watch and gather information. Being inside human environments gave him the chance to learn how the Defense Force operated, observe its strongest members, and find weaknesses he could use later. Over time, the disguise became more efficient, and he could shift into or out of it faster as his own body evolved. Choosing Takamichi Hotoka as his host was deliberate. Hotoka's job cleaning kaiju remains after battles gave No. 9 access to fresh corpses he could study or reanimate. It also kept him close to people like Kafka Hibino without drawing suspicion. This made the disguise not just a way to hide, but a way to position himself where he could strike or retreat at will. No. 9 stayed in this form for extended periods, moving in human spaces without showing signs of strain or instability. That was what made it effective. There were no tells, no obvious gaps in the imitation. For as long as he needed, he could blend in, waiting for the right moment to act. There are still 7 forms left to cover, and let's move on to his base humanoid version, aka the skinny kaiju form. The base humanoid form of Kaiju No. 9 was his true kaiju body before any major power-ups or large-scale transformations. In this state, he had a tall, thin frame with long limbs, exposed muscle-like tissue, and a skeletal facial structure. Despite looking less physically imposing than later forms, This version was agile, quick, and precise. It relied on speed, ranged attacks, and regeneration rather than brute force. Number 9's main abilities in this form included his finger projectile attack, where he could fire hardened bone-like shards at high velocity, rapid regeneration that let him recover from deep wounds in seconds, and the power to reanimate dead kaiju by injecting them with his own cells, turning them into controlled soldiers. He could also detach parts of his body to create smaller, autonomous creatures, which he used for infiltration or distraction. In battle, he operated more like a tactician than a brawler. Rather than rushing in recklessly, Number 9 preferred to keep distance, test his opponent's abilities, and adjust his strategy mid-fight. He fought with efficiency, used his range attacks to chip away at opponents while keeping out of their strike range. If a direct confrontation became too risky, he had no problem retreating to recover and regroup, knowing he could always come back with a better plan. During this stage, he clashed with Kafka Hibino in his kaiju form. The fight revealed Number 9's analytical mindset. He observed Kafka's combat style, strength output, and regeneration capabilities, then adapted his tactics accordingly. Even when outmatched in raw power, he stayed calm, using his speed and regeneration to prolong the fight until he could escape. This version of Number 9 wasn't about overwhelming force. It was more about early steps, growth, adaptation, and learning how to survive and become both stronger and wiser. Every encounter was a chance to gather data on both his enemies and the Defense Force's weaponry. The information he collected in this form directly influenced his later evolutions, making him stronger and more prepared for the large-scale battles to come. This was only the second form, and the third one was the most surprising. Beta and Gamma forms fused with ant-type kaijus. In this form, Kaiju Number 9 fused his Beta and Gamma bodies with the remains of a massive ant-type kaiju. Beta and Gamma were already extensions of himself, independent bodies created from his own cells that could operate at a distance while still connected to his mind. By merging them with the ant kaiju's remains, he enhanced their size, durability, and offensive power. The fusion gave them hardened exoskeletal armor, large serrated claws, and improved mobility for both close quarters and burrowing combat. This transformation turned the two into heavy assault units. The ant kaiju's chitin made them resistant to conventional Defense Force weapons, and the added muscle mass allowed them to overpower opponents with brute strength, something Beta and Gamma alone were not originally built for. Their sharp claws could tear through armored targets, and their reinforced bodies made them far harder to destroy in one hit. Number 9 used this fused form as a way to overwhelm the battlefield through numbers and coordination. Beta and Gamma worked together, flanking enemies, cutting off escape routes, and forcing opponents into tight spaces where their sheer size and strength became overwhelming. Their durability meant they could take sustained fire while still advancing, creating openings for Number 9's main body to attack from another direction. But more about the main body in a little bit. The most notable engagement with this form was against Kikoru Shinomiya and the Defense Force during a large-scale operation. The fusion's strength and resilience forced the Defense Force to commit heavy firepower to take them down, buying Number 9 valuable time to operate elsewhere. Even when one was heavily damaged, the regenerative properties of Number 9's cells allowed partial recovery mid-battle. This form showed how adaptable Number 9's combat approach was. He didn't just rely on evolving his main body, he weaponized kaiju remains, merging them with his own creations to expand his presence on the battlefield. It was part of his broader strategy to fight on multiple fronts at once, divide enemy focus, and gather combat data from several points simultaneously. And having said that, we now need to speak about the Alpha Post-Molt form. This form is significantly more muscular and quite bigger than the previous versions we saw, with the added difference that its skin is also darker. This form marked one of Kaiju Number 9's biggest physical leaps in power. After undergoing a molting process, his body shed its thinner, more skeletal frame and rebuilt itself into a heavily muscled, reinforced structure. The result was a kaiju with far greater speed, strength, and resilience than his earlier humanoid form. His limbs became thicker and more durable, his claws longer and sharper, and his overall mass increased, allowing him to strike with devastating force while still retaining high agility. In this state, Number 9 could overpower opponents who had previously matched him blow for blow. His regeneration became even faster, allowing him to recover from deep lacerations or lost limbs within moments. The improved muscle density meant he could withstand heavy artillery fire without being staggered, and his raw striking power was enough to shatter reinforced Defense Force armor with single hits. Despite this new bulk, he didn't lose much of his speed, but instead, his enhanced musculature allowed explosive bursts of movement that caught enemies off guard. Kaiju Number 9's fight against Isao Shinomiya happened when Number 9 targeted him to take control of the Director General's powerful numbers numbers weapon number 2. Isao was one of the Defense Force's most dangerous fighters, wearing the number 2 suit, which gave him immense speed, strength, and the ability to unleash high-powered strikes drawn from the original Kaiju number 2's abilities. This was not a fight number 9 could win through trickery alone. He had to match Isao directly at the start. Isao fought on equal ground. His mastery over the number 2 suit allowed him to move faster than number 9 could track at times, hammering him with rapid, crushing blows. Isao's strikes were precise and relentless, forcing number 9 to stay defensive and use his regeneration to survive. Each hit was enough to tear chunks out of his body, and for a while, it looked like Isao's sheer speed and power would end the fight before number 9 could adapt. But as the battle went on, number 9 began learning Isao's attack patterns. His regeneration bought him the time he needed to study openings and adjust his movements, while Isao was reaching his limits faster and faster. The turning point came when number 9 pushed Isao into overextending. A sudden counter allowed number 9 to close in and land several damaging hits in quick succession. From there, the tide shifted rapidly. Number 9's strength and speed in his alpha post-molt muscular form gave him the raw power to match Isao's suit-enhanced blows. Using his claws and relentless offense, he broke through Isao's guard, striking vital points to weaken him further. This victory not only removed one of the Defense Force's strongest leaders from the battlefield, but it also allowed number 9 to claim the immense power of Kaiju number 2 for himself, leading directly into his massive post-absorption form. But what form is that exactly? Well, the one that we're gonna analyze now, the post-Isao absorption. You see, after defeating Isao Shinomiya, Kaiju number 9 absorbed both his body and the numbers weapon number 2, triggering one of his most dramatic transformations, the huge form. This wasn't just a size increase though, it was a complete fusion of his own biology with the immense power and traits of Kaiju number 2. His body grew to towering proportions, his muscles thickened even further, and his overall structure became bulkier and more heavily armored. Most notably, his head and facial features took on more aggressive beast-like traits, reflecting number 2's influence. This form gave number 9 overwhelming raw strength and endurance. The physical power he gained from number 2 allowed him to strike with a force to level buildings in a single blow. His durability increased to the point where concentrated heavy artillery fire barely slowed him down, and his regeneration became almost instantaneous. In addition to the physical boosts, he inherited abilities from number 2's combat style, including enhanced speed despite his massive size, and the ability to release devastating shockwave-like strikes that could damage enemies without direct contact. The huge form also amplified number 9's presence on the battlefield. He no longer needed to rely on strength or infiltration. He could dominate open combat through sheer superiority. This marked a turning point in his approach. Instead of avoiding direct fights with the top Defense Force members, he now actively sought them out, confident in his ability to overpower them. And let me tell you that this transformation wasn't just about physical dominance. It also represented a psychological blow to the Defense Force. Isao had been a key leader and one of humanity's strongest fighters. By absorbing him, number 9 not only gained his power, but also removed a vital figure from the enemy's command structure. His appearance in this form was not just a big wound for the Defense Force, but also a message that the balance of power was shifting in his favor, and the Defense Force no longer had its strongest weapon against him. Moving on to the next form, we have the Kaiju number 2 fused version, aka with 2 heads. The Kaiju number 2 fused form came after Kaiju number 9 had fully absorbed Isao Shinomiya and adapted the abilities of numbers weapon number 2 into his own biology. Unlike the huge form, which was mostly about raw size and brute force, this fusion took on a more refined and specialized structure. His body slimmed down slightly from the massive bulk, but he became far more efficient. Every muscle, joint, and organ rebuilt for high speed, high power combat. The most striking change was the addition of a second head, both operating in perfect synchronization. Each head had independent vision and processing ability, allowing number 9 to track multiple opponents or incoming attacks at once. This eliminated blind spots and made coordinated assaults against him far less effective. The 2 heads also allowed for simultaneous offensive actions. One could target an enemy with precision energy-based strikes, while the other focused on close-range combat. Combined with his already fast reaction speed, this made him extremely difficult to overwhelm. The fusion with Kaiju number 2's traits also gave him access to devastating ranged power. His strikes could generate destructive shockwaves capable of shattering defensive structures and throwing back even the strongest Defense Force soldiers. His physical strength remained immense, but now it was paired with sharper mobility, allowing him to close gaps instantly or reposition to avoid counterattacks. Kafka and Mina Ashiro engaged this version of Kaiju number 9 in battle, but ultimately it was too strong for them. It resulted in both Kafka and Ashiro almost losing their lives in the process. Thankfully, Kafka at that point point unlocked his own next power-up that allowed him to fight on equal ground with Kaiju No. 9. Next is Kaiju No. 9's final form, with 6 arms and multiple inside eyes. By chapters 114 and 115, Kaiju No. 9 had pushed his body into the most grotesque and combat-optimized form yet. The 6 arms and inside eyes transformation. His torso expanded and sprouted 3 pairs of arms, each with the same strength and precision as his primary set. These arms gave him complete control over every angle in close combat, letting him strike, block, and counter simultaneously. His skeletal frame became layered with dense muscle and armor-like plating, making it nearly impossible to find an unprotected point. The most unsettling change came in his face and head. Alongside his normal eyes, new ones formed inside his mouth, allowing him to track movements even while his jaw was wide open in mid-attack. This meant his field of vision was almost impossible to compromise. Blinding or distracting him from one angle no longer worked. The constant movement of these eyes, paired with his unnatural body posture, made him unnerving to fight against. In this state, No. 9's speed and coordination reached a new level that overwhelmed even elite Defense Force fighters. His 6 arms worked in perfect rhythm, letting him chain high-speed attacks without pause. One set could hold an opponent in place, while another delivered crushing blows, and a third intercepted incoming attacks. Combined with his regeneration and Kaiju No. 2's raw power, he became a relentless wall of offense and defense. Strategically, this form was about total dominance in close-range combat. While previous versions of No. 9 balanced ranged attacks and mobility, this one thrived in direct engagement. He could trap opponents in a flurry of strikes, forcing them to block or dodge until exhaustion set in, at which point a single decisive hit would finish the fight. By this stage, No. 9 was no longer fighting simply to win. He was fighting to erase the Defense Force's strongest completely. Every evolution had brought him closer to that goal, but the 6 arms and inside eyes form was the one where his body, abilities, and mindset were all tuned toward pure extermination. But which form is next, you may ask? His original chibi version he started with. You see, once Kaiju No. 9 was defeated, we were shown his actual beginnings. This chibi real version of Kaiju No. 9 refers to his earliest known form, essentially the starting point of his existence before the humanoid body and advanced evolutions. In this stage, No. 9's appearance was small, almost underdeveloped compared to his later forms, a compact, less intimidating kaiju body with simpler features. Despite the size and seemingly harmless build, this was when his most important trait first appeared, his intelligence. From the beginning, No. 9 displayed a level of awareness and reasoning that set him apart from other kaiju. While most relied on instinct and raw destruction, he was already calculating, observing, and adapting. Even in this small form, he understood how to avoid detection, how to assess threats, and how to position himself for survival. His regeneration existed even then, though it was slower and less refined than in later forms, and he lacked the overwhelming physical power he would later develop. This stage is tied closely to his backstory. No. 9 was not a random mutation. He was part of a larger pattern of evolving kaiju, potentially connected to experiments or natural phenomena that allowed certain specimens to think, plan, and adapt over time. His early encounters with humans shaped his understanding of them, their weapons, their strategies, and their weaknesses. While he couldn't take them head-on yet, he stored every observation for future use. The chibi real version represents the seed of everything No. 9 would become. In this small, early body, he began the process that would define him, learning from every encounter, surviving where others would be destroyed, and constantly searching for ways to evolve. This mindset, born in his weakest stage, was what made his later transformations so dangerous. His strength grew, his body changed, but the calculating mind behind it all was there from the very start. Click on this video next, where I'm creating the strongest character that ever